Hello and welcome. It's Monday, April 7th. You're tuned in to our 10 a.m. newscast here on ARIRANG TV. Let's take a look at what's making the headlines. South Korea has found another drone believed to have flown from North Korea, some 130 kilometers south of the inter-Korean border. It's the third such discovery in a week. The United States moves to reassure Tokyo over its mounting security concerns, saying it will send more destroyers to Japan following North Korean missile launches. Plus, rhythmic gymnast Son Yeon-jae makes history, winning 4 gold medals at the International Gymnastics Federation's World Cup. Our top story this morning, the South Korean military has discovered yet another small drone, presumably from North Korea, on a mountain in Gangwon-do province, some 130 kilometers south of the inter-Korean border. Now, we have our Defense Ministry correspondent Kim Hyun-bin standing by at the Ministry of National Defense in Seoul. So, Hyun-bin, it must be very concerning that this is the third drone found on South Korean territory in a matter of weeks. What countermeasures does Seoul plan to take?
Hey, Mark, let's just start by saying that North Korea has hundreds of drones or unmanned aerial vehicles in its possessions. So there could be more found in the coming days or weeks. The South Korean military says it's well equipped to deal with enemy jet incursions and attack UAVs. But it's much more difficult detecting these kind of ultra-small-sized UAVs. Seoul says it plans to purchase low-altitude radar and other military gadgetry to prevent further infiltrations. Seoul's Joint Chief of Staff said it will take strong actions over Pyongyang's violation of its airspace and will also mobilize units across the country to search for other drones. The ministry says it will continue to evaluate possible routes and the damage the UAVs could cause, while enhancing air defense operations system to better counter small-sized UAV infiltration.
And Hyun-bin, what do we know about Sunday's discovery of this third drone?
Well, the Defense Ministry said Sunday that a ginseng digger spotted the UAV first last October on a mountain in Samcheok in Gangwon province and reported to the military authorities last Friday. Initial investigations show the drone is the same model as the one that crashed in Paju late last month. A preliminary analysis also shows the computer components inside the drone contain chips and microprocessors released back in the early 1990s. But have long been obsolete. As you said, this is the third discovery like this, and it is a worry as the South Korean military failed to detect these ones until they crashed on South Korean soil. There were almost certainly many more that made the flight, but made it back to North Korea safely. We have a ministry briefing coming up in the next few minutes, and I have more updates for you during the next newscast at noon, Korea time. Mark?
Well, thank you very much, Hyun-bin. That was our Defense Ministry correspondent Kim Hyun-bin reporting about the Defense Ministry's future plans to counter these small-sized drones that keep appearing. We've had the third suspected North Korean drone, and that's found over 100 kilometers south of the inter-Korean border. Now, South Korea, the United States and Japan will hold a meeting of their top nuclear negotiators in Washington later on this Monday. The three sides will share their views on the security situation on the Korean Peninsula and devise countermeasures against North Korea's nuclear threats. Our Shin Se-min reports.
The newly appointed South Korean envoy to the six-party talks, Hwang Jung-guk, is in the U.S. Capitol for talks with his American and Japanese counterparts on drawing up countermeasures and preventive steps to deal with North Korea's latest provocations. According to South Korean officials, Hwang is scheduled to meet with Washington Special Envoy Glenn Davies and Japanese Foreign Ministry Director General Junichi Ihara on Monday. Speaking to reporters upon his arrival in Washington, Hwang said the talks are designed to reaffirm coordination among the three nations in regards to further provocative acts by North Korea. The South Korean official also hinted that there might be a chance for a bilateral meeting with Tokyo Chief Nuclear Envoy, something that didn't happen the last time the three countries met in this format last November. If the meeting is held, it'll reflect South Korea's push for a strengthening security partnership with Japan, despite a number of unsolved territorial and historical disputes. Hwang said it would be, quote, unnatural for the nuclear envoys of neighboring countries to not meet on the sidelines of the meeting. Meanwhile, Hwang said Seoul could not rule out the possibility that Pyongyang will make good on its threat to conduct another nuclear test. He also said it was too early to say whether the six-party talks between the two Koreas, the U.S., Japan, Russia, and China that have been stalled since late 2008 would be up and running again soon. Shin Se-min, Arirang News.
South Korea's spy agency has, for the first time, opened its interrogation center for North Korean defectors to the media. The National Intelligence Service wants to make the process more transparent amid claims of mistreatment in a recent espionage case. Our Kim Min-ji reports.
Over 10,000 North Korean defectors have passed through the gates of this interrogation center run by the National Intelligence Service since it opened in December 2008. Recently revealed to the media, the center is where defectors first enter before starting new lives in the South. They first go through an inquiry process to check whether or not they are trying to pass themselves off as defectors. The process lasts for an average of 5 days, and an examiner conducts one-on-one talks with the defector whose every move is observed. During this period, defectors stay in a room equipped with a bed and washroom and are required to eat here, and they are not allowed to come into contact with other defectors. If the examiner finds nothing suspicious, the defector is sent to Hanawon, or the Settlement Support Center for North Korean refugees.
너무나도 조건이 괜찮습니다.
여기서 나가기 싫을 정도세요?
나가면 아무 간주랍니다.
When the inquiry process lasts longer than expected, defectors are given a single room where they can be kept for up to 6 months. If they act suspiciously, they are handed over to the investigation department. Although such a procedure is necessary, problems have surfaced recently. There have been allegations of inhumane treatment, including threats or cajoling, and it's hard to identify whether the management is transparent and fair. Moreover, the process is not recorded. As it's an inquiry, not an investigation, defectors do not sign a statement, nor can they check the statement on a computer.
말씀하신 걸 이제 컴퓨터 친 다음에 뽑아서 종이로 뽑아가지고 보여주고 자 확인하십시오 이렇게 하는 게 있나요?
제가 수사받는 과정에 그런 건 없었습니다.
During the inquiry, defectors are not allowed to speak to a lawyer. Some legal experts say the spy agency should not be in charge of both the procedure and management, adding that the Unification Ministry, which handles inter-Korean affairs, should monitor the management procedure so the process is more transparent. Kim Min-ji, Arirang News.
The United States has reiterated its support for Tokyo's efforts to bolster its military defense capabilities by announcing plans to send 2 more ballistic missile destroyers to Japan by 2017. Washington wants to help Japan counter North Korean threats and stand up to a much more assertive China. Our Yulian has the details.
U.S. Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel has welcomed Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe's push for collective self-defense by altering Tokyo's war-renouncing constitution. Speaking at a joint news conference with his Japanese counterpart in Tokyo on Sunday, Hagel said Japan was playing a proactive role in contributing to global and regional peace and stability. In addition, Hagel announced plans to send 2 advanced destroyers equipped with ballistic missile defense systems to Japan in the face of a more threatening North Korea.
In response to Pyongyang's pattern of provocative and destabilizing actions, including recent missile launches in violation of UN Security Council resolutions.
The announcement comes a matter of days after Pyongyang test-fired 2 mid-range ballistic missiles into the EC, following a series of shorter-range missiles in recent weeks.
For the safety of Japan and of Eastern Asia, we believe that Japan's Aegis system and the United States Aegis system is very effective.
The extra ships will bring the total number of U.S. Aegis destroyers deployed in Japan to 7. Hagel also sent a message to China saying it should respect its neighbors, adding that coercion and intimidation will only lead to conflict. Hagel will be traveling to China starting Monday to talk to Beijing about its use of military power and encourage transparency. China has been bolstering its military while becoming more assertive in the territorial dispute with Japan in recent months. Yurian, Arirang News.
Japan may cross the Rubicon and put Korea-Japan relations beyond repair if it goes ahead with a recently announced plan. Japan state broadcaster NHK reported Sunday that Prime Minister Shinzo Abe will speak about the importance of Japan's right of collective self-defense and expanding the role of the military in an upcoming speech, an action that will almost certainly sour relations with neighboring countries like Korea and China. He will deliver the speech at the annual Asia Security Summit in Singapore in May. The summit will be attended by defense ministers and military representatives from Asia-Pacific countries. Japan has been criticized by its regional neighbors for beefing up its military and trying to revise its pacifist constitution. Now, for a look at the international headlines we're following at this hour, we're going to connect live to our Eunice Kim, who's standing by at the news center. Good morning to you, Eunice.
Hi there, Mark. Acting Ukrainian President Oleksandr Turchinov was to head to Lithuania on a diplomatic trip, but he called it off to call another type of meeting, emergency security, that is, after pro-Russian protesters stormed government buildings in a trio of eastern Ukrainian cities. Protesters in Donetsk, Luhansk, and Kharkiv called for a referendum and claimed their city belonged to Russia, clashing with police. Some 1,500 people participated in the Donetsk demonstrations, while in Luhansk, Ukrainian media said protesters pelted a government building with eggs and a firebomb. Ukraine's Interior Minister Arsen Avakov said in a Facebook post the so-called separatist disorder was ordered and paid for by Russia and ousted President Viktor Yanukovych. Recovery teams will effort to verify ping signals that could have come from the black box of the missing Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 when they resumed their search efforts in the southern Indian Ocean today. Australian authorities said Sunday a Chinese patrol vessel had picked up electronic pulse signals on 2 separate occasions Saturday, within a span of hours and a distance of 2 kilometers. China also said it spotted white objects in water some 90 kilometers away. Australia's Ocean Shield is also investigating a possible third ping elsewhere in the massive search zone. The race to locate the missing airliner is intensified as the batteries of the black box are feared to run out any day now. Flight 370 went missing 30 days ago. The world's largest elections are set to take place beginning today in India. 815 million Indians will cast their votes to elect members of the country's lower house of parliament, the Lok Sabha, over the next 5 weeks. Recent polls show the Bharatiya Janata Party, led by Hindu nationalist Narendra Modi and its allies, likely to grab the biggest chunk of the 543-seat legislature while falling short of a majority. On the other hand, the ruling Congress Party, led by the Nehru-Gandhi dynasty, is forecast to be served a blow following India's longest economic slowdown since the 1980s. The results of the vote are expected May 16th. Meanwhile, voter turnout in Afghanistan's historic presidential election on Saturday was much larger than expected. The country's election commission chief said around 58% of the 12 million eligible voters went to the polls, or double the turnout of the last election 5 years ago. This despite earlier threats by the Taliban to stage attacks to deter voters in the country's first ever democratic transfer of power. Taliban forces detonated dozens of minor roadside bombs and attacked polling stations on voting day. Over 350,000 government security forces were dispatched to polling stations, and rings of checkpoints and roadblocks were also set up. The British children's TV show Teletubbies could soon be gracing the tubes of North Koreans. British media are reporting North Korea's state broadcaster Korean Central Television has cleared 3 BBC TV shows, Top Gear, Doctor Who, and Teletubbies, for air, and is poised to purchase the rights to the shows. The decision comes after almost a year of talks between Pyongyang and the BBC. UK's Foreign Secretary William Hague hailed the development as a good good way for the North to improve its understanding about the outside world. The BBC has avoided comment as the contract has yet to be signed. North Korea's KCTV airs 6.5 hours of content every day. Foreign TV programs have been strictly banned.
Said that a team of South Korean...
Get connected to Korea and the world. Join us every weekday for the latest developments out of Korea, Asia, and beyond. On air, on your mobile, and online, we lead the way every day. ARIRANG News.
To try and resolve the crisis in Ukraine, the European Union also offers 50 billion. The number of Koreans using so-called budget phones now account for 5% of all mobile phone users in Korea. The Ministry of Science, ICT and Future Planning says, as of last month, over 2.8 million people were signed up on these more economical phone plans that are about 30% cheaper than those sold by major mobile carriers. Ministry officials say the number of subscribers could surpass 3 million this month. Budget phone operators are cheaper than regular contracts because they borrow the network infrastructure from owners like SK Telecom or KT to lessen the burden of high cell phone bills. Local researchers have developed new drug treatments that can both diagnose and sometimes cure different types of cancer. This targeted therapeutic technology is expected to open new doors in developing medicine and other diseases. Our Son Yeon-jae reports.
Cancer is no longer considered an untreatable disease, but treating it usually comes with a variety of grisly side effects. But local researchers may have come up with a solution. They've developed a treatment that selectively targets cancerous cells without harming healthy cells and therefore reducing side effects.
By adding molecular imaging functions, the anti-cancer drug is selectively activated when it reaches targeted cancer cells, maximizing its effectiveness.
When the prodrug is inserted into a mouse with cancer, it does not disintegrate until it reaches the targeted cancer cells. When used for diagnosis, the drug makes the cancer cells turn a fluorescent color, enabling doctors to more easily identify the illness. The researchers were able to verify that the anti-cancer agents successfully targeted the malignant cells through a high-resolution cell image analyzing device. Later, they confirmed that the prodrug effectively treated the disease as the size of the cells noticeably reduced.
We can apply this new promising technology for early detection and treatment of other types of cancer while minimizing side effects.
The researchers believe the development can further enhance their research on customized cures. The results were featured in the online edition of leading chemistry journal Angewandte Chemie. Son Jeong-in, ARIRANG News.
And a good Monday morning to you all, and what a great weekend for South Korea's Son Yeon-jae went into the Lisbon World Cup, hoping to win her first individual all-around medal. And of course, like I said, hoping to win her first individual gold here. She got her wish as she scored 17.550 in clubs, 17.950 in ribbon, 17.900 in hoops, and 17.800 in ball, for a total of 71.200, good for first in individual all-around, winning her first ever gold medal in the individual all-around finals. Not only that, on the second day, she wins the gold medal in ball, clubs, and ribbon event, while she earned a bronze in hoop, finishing off with 4 gold medals in total in Lisbon. And moving over to some Sunday's KBO action as the Tucson Bears beat the Kia Tigers 4-1, with the SK Wyverns beating the Hanwha Eagles 8-1 and the Samsung Lions crushing the Lotte Giants 7-1. Meanwhile, let's take a look at the red-hot NC Dinos take on the Nexon Heroes. Of course, going into the game here, first inning, Lee Tae-gun at bat, and he drills this pitch to deep left field. There he goes, gone. A solo shot puts Nexon up 1-0. Going to the bottom of the inning with one man on, Lee Ho-jun, and over the left field wall, and NC's up 2-1. Down 2-1 in the 8th inning of the game, two-time MVP Park Byung-ho sends it to right, going, gone, tie ball game 2-2. Shifting over to the 9th inning here, Yoo Han-jun, he's going to ground this to third base here, but no play at the plate. And Nexon takes the lead 3-2. We go over to the bottom of the 9th inning. Man on first and second. Lee Jong-wook drills this pitch to deep right center field. Lee Sang-ho scores. Here comes Choi Young-hoon. Play at the plate, and it's safe ball game over the NC Dinos, winning in the bottom of the 9th inning. 4-3, your final score. And over to some Sunday's K-League Classic action. A lot of draws on this day, with Pohang and Jeonnam drawing 2-2 and Ulsan and Busan drawing 0-0. Meanwhile, let's take a look at the highlights between FC Seoul and the Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors. Now, it doesn't take long for the first goal to be scored here in the 3rd minute of the match after a penalty is called. Jeonbuk's Leonardo sends one past the goalkeeper, and Jeonbuk takes an early 1-0 lead. 27th minute, Jeonbuk still up 1-0. FC Seoul's Yoon In-nok gets past 3 defenders, and a brilliant goal here levels the match at 1 apiece. Now, both sides very aggressive in the second half of the match, but that's all the goals we'll see in this match, as this match ends in a draw as well, 1-1. And now moving over to Game 4 of the KBL Championship between the Changwon LG Sakers and the Ulsan Mobis Phoebus, with LG up 2-1 in the series. Now Mobis getting their offense running quick here as they take a 21-15 lead in the first quarter before heading into halftime with a comfortable 44-31 lead. Second half of the game, Mobis turns up their defense this time as Moon Tae-young puts up 20 points and 6 boards on the night as Mobis ties the series at 2 apiece with a 71-60 win. And now finishing things off with NCAA basketball. Fans love the tournaments for the upsets. And now 2 schools who weren't seeded that high are going to the final dance. After a last-second 3 from Aaron Harrison of Kentucky, the Wildcats beat Wisconsin as they head into the finals. Meanwhile, another upset win here, this time by UConn, who beat the number 1 seeded Florida, as the NCAA men's basketball final is set as Kentucky and UConn will face off for the national championship. And that's going to wrap it up for me. This has been SJ. Have a great rest of the day, and see you guys again for your sports needs.
The cherry blossoms were in peak bloom over the weekend. I hope windy and cold temperature didn't affect your outing. Well, if you haven't got a chance to go and check out those blossoms, today should be actually a better day to see them. Weather-wise, as temperatures will be much milder than yesterday, jumping back to upper teens in most parts of the country. So it should feel more like typical spring today, and skies will stay clear in most parts of the peninsula throughout the day. But it could be very dry. In fact, dry weather watch has been issued in some regions, so please stay hydrated and apply a good amount of moisturizer. Also, it's going to be a very windy day for parts of the east, so please do keep that in mind. And weather outlook for this week is looking warm and nice, so we should enjoy this warmth while it's here. So with that in mind, let's take a closer look at the readings for today. The morning low here in the capital Seoul started out at 7, and afternoon high will rise to 17, while Daegu get up to 23, and Gwangju and Busan should top out at 19 and 20 respectively. Now let's see how other regions are looking. It looks like down on Jeju and Dokdo will all peak to 17 and 19, and Mount Kumgang should see a high of 16 this afternoon. Well, please notice the big temperature difference between day and night and dress accordingly. Well, that's all I have for you at this hour, and I hope you have a wonderful day.
Well, that's all for now. We'll be back at noon Korea time. In the meantime, you can always catch up with what's been happening on our website at arirang.co.kr/news.